Hey, this is your hillbilly historian coming to you from the hills of Appalachia to bring you honesty, truth, the American way, common sense, integrity, honesty, philosophy, and history you won't find in your high school or college history books. Today I want to talk about a little light subject about a lady. Her name was Evelyn Walker, one of the most precious, beautiful, wonderful women that has ever lived. I was teaching down in Georgia and teaching adult education. And I was having problems with black students. I just couldn't get them motivated or get them fired up to get their GEDs. But Evelyn came along and was in my class, and she passed every one of her tests, did real well, was a good, studious student, worked real hard, got her GED her first time around, and wonderful, wonderful person, great student. And I asked her if she'd go to work for me, that I was having problems motivating blacks to get their, to get them motivated and everything, and I wanted to hire her. And damn, she wasn't harder on blacks than I was. She was, I thought I might have had some subjective racism that they could feel or sense. But boy, she read them the right act. You get your butt to work. But I don't think I ever had a black person spend more than one night after Evelyn took over. And but she was a great aide, an unbelievable teacher. I had a student that tested out at about second grade level, but he was working as an electrician at Hartsfield Airport, and his boss told him, said, "You need to get your high school diploma because we need you on record as being a high school graduate to maintain these contracts, these federal contracts. And so we need you to get it." And this young man was married, and I don't think he and his wife had any children yet, but they had a nice apartment. He had a good paying job. He wanted to keep it. So he come to my class, and we'd work with him, and he would get so frustrated. He'd break his pencils, throw them in the garbage, get up and leave, swear them down. He's never coming back, but the next night he'd be back. He'd try again, he'd get frustrated, break his pencils, throw them in the garbage, leave, threatening never to come back, but the next night he'd be back. And I asked Evelyn, can you just sit down and work with him and see if you can reach him intellectually, just get through. Now, I really believe your mind has receptors and it has rejectors. And me or my other two aides had never been able to reach his receptors. That his rejectors were dominating his mind. We couldn't get through to his receptors. And but Evelyn was a miracle worker. She got through to his ability to receive information and knowledge, and within 1 year he had his high school diploma. Evelyn Walker was able to reach his receptors, open his mind, get this knowledge into his head to where he was able to go and take his test, GED test, and that was back in the day. That test was hard to pass. I was There was another guy that was teaching adult education in another county near us, and he thought he'd go take it, see what he had to teach. He went and took it, failed it. He come back and told the students he failed it, the dumb shit. He told them he failed it. They all got up and walked out of class and said, hell, this college graduate who's teaching school of a day, who's a certified teacher, can't pass the GED. How are we ever going to be able to pass it? They all got up and walked out. He was sitting there with an empty classroom. he was too dumb. If he failed it, he shouldn't have told his class he failed it. Jesus, he shouldn't have even told his class he was going to go take it, but he did. He was open and honest, too open and honest, and he shot himself in the foot. But our class, we had students sent to us from all around the Atlanta area, and because we got people through. We were graduating about 210, 220 people a year. When my age until other age from other counties, we were averaging 60, 65 students a day, and we were graduating 200, 210 a year. I feel there's a philosophy about everything. And it took me about 4 months to figure out how to teach adult education. Because you start at the first of a book, and people enroll a week later. They don't come first day of school and attend every night. You have people enroll every day, and if they miss a class, you cannot teach adult education using the warehousing methodology, where you begin at the beginning of the year, carry a class all the way through a textbook, chapter by chapter, page by page, and get them through, and at the end of the course, they know this subject real well, supposedly. You can't teach that way with adult education. I learned that you had to individualize the instruction for every single student that walked in, and you had to test them, evaluate their skills. Reading comprehension is a very important skill in adult education, because the social studies, the English literature, and the science tests are all reading comprehension, where you answer questions after you read 3 or 4 paragraphs. And then you answer questions about those that you had just read. So I would test students, see how their reading comprehension was, and then their math, and that you have a math test, and then you have an English grammar test. And those are the two that you generally had to really train students on. And I leaned heavily upon the Blumenthal programmed English grammar series, 2,200, 2,600, and 3,200 books. And I found that when a student went through all 3 of those books, they would pass the English grammar part of the test easily. And then I would give them a good basic training in math, but that would all be individualized according to where they were at and where they needed to start. And where I was located, we sent our students up to DeKalb County to take the test. They tested every Monday. So I could send students every Monday to take the test, and I could call them, and they'd give me their grades on Tuesday. And I kept a score of how they were all doing and everything. Basically kept a file on every student. Every student was individualized. When I finally developed this philosophy of teaching, adult education. Uh, I sent, and you didn't have to take all 5 tests at one day. I would send people to take one test or another, and maybe 2 at a time, 1 at a time, depending on how they felt. Taking all 5 in one day could wear them out and cause failure. And so I'd send them to take the tests they were ready to take. And the first time I figured all this out, and I got 25 people ready to go, I sent them over there to DeKalb County, and they all 25 did so well that they burnt the tests. They thought I had broken in and got access to their tests because they'd never seen a school send that many people at one time that did that well. Well, the next Monday, they had all new tests, and I sent 25 more. They did so well, they burnt those tests. Ordered all new tests again. They thought I had access, and they took precaution to make sure that I did not have access to their tests. On the third Monday, I sent about 25 more. They did real well, super well. And then they started questioning my students on what was going on in my classroom. And once my students told them what was going on, how I was teaching the class and all that, then there was never any question anymore about the honesty of my students. The honesty that I was not breaking into their offices and stealing their tests. They accepted everything after that. In fact, occasionally they would send me students from DeKalb County. But anyway, Evelyn Walker was an aide that helped me get people through who had difficulty learning. She was a miracle worker when it came to education. She wasn't a trained teacher or anything. She just knew how to open a man's mind and his heart. But she never had success with other blacks. But she had an uncle that had a barbecue shack up in Forest Park, Georgia, between us and Atlanta. And once or twice a week, she'd bring me tin-foil wrapped barbecue, some of the best barbecue you ever ate in your life. She'd bring me a bunch of ribs, at least once a week, maybe sometimes twice a week. We were open 4 days a week. She worked 4 days a week. One of the greatest people. And I have to say that all the aides I had an elderly lady that was real good with people learning English as a second language. And back then, this was the 1970s, late 1970s, we were getting a lot of people from Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, and the government was paying their way over here, and they were encouraging them to come learn English as a second language. And I had this elderly lady that handled that, and she was really, really good at that job. Then I had another aide that was a divorcee. She had a son and a daughter, beautiful young lady, and she was a great aide too. I had a couple others that didn't work out too well. A guy that had been in a car accident, had brain damage, and he never was any help to me. And he was a nice young man. I kept him for a year. I didn't hire him, the school system did, but after a year I had to get people that could help me. And then I had a friend, I hired his wife for a little while. She didn't work out. She was evil, sneaky. She was sneaky evil. She was just, there's people that are just born to be evil. She was one of them, so I couldn't work out. But Evelyn Walker, who this discussion is about, was a miracle worker, wonderful, wonderful lady. She used to crack us up. Her family was from Alabama, and they moved to Detroit because there was work up in Detroit, and they hadn't got enough money yet to buy a car, enough credit or money, cash to buy a car. So when they'd have a vacation, they'd ride the Greyhound bus down to Alabama and back. And she was born and raised in Detroit, so she was not used to segregated living. And she'd tell stories about how the bus, after they crossed the Mason-Dixon line, how the bus would stop before they got to the bus stop. They would stop on the side of the road so all the blacks could get out of the bus and go use the restroom in the bushes. And she used to fuss at the bus driver unmercifully. It was hard for her mom and dad to keep her quiet because she was outspoken and she was from Detroit. You know, she was allowed to speak her mind in Detroit. And they really believed in freedom of speech up there, but down here in the South at that time, this was like back in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, when she was a young girl. And then when they get to the bus stop, they were not allowed to go inside and eat in the booths and tables. They had to go to the back door, place their order at the back door, receive their order, and then go sit. They had park benches outside for them to sit at and eat their food or take it on the bus and eat on the bus. And it was just, she was not used to that segregated life. She had raised mortal hell with them bus drivers. And most of the drivers were good people, good drivers, educated, and they sympathized with her, but they had to go over the rules. And she didn't like having to squat in the grass and the bushes, behind bushes, to take a leak or something. So she used to give them a hard time, but she'd tell stories and tell them in such a funny way. She'd have us all laughing at stitches. She was a wonderful, wonderful, unbelievable miracle worker when it came to opening up a man's mind to learn and everything. She really knew how to get those receptors going in a person's mind and get them through. But she could not motivate blacks. She was harder on them than I'd ever been. At least I'd get them to come 2 or 3 or 4 nights before they'd quit. She'd have them quit the first night. She just told them outright what it took and how hard they'd have to work and all that. They just didn't want to do it. They wanted a freebie. But anyway, Evelyn Walker, one of God's miracle workers, placed on earth, that helped a lot of people. I saw her myself help a lot of people. And I think she was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human being. I just love people like that who even despite the fact she suffered racism from whites in the South, she was willing to help a lot of whites get their high school diploma, and she was able to reach people that I as a trained educator, certified educator, could not get through to, nor my other 2 aides. But Evelyn Walker could do it. She really knew how to do it. She was just a really, really great Christian, wonderful, loving person, and I regret that I lost touch with this person. I don't know where she's at today or what she's doing, but I guarantee you she has helped a lot of people. She's done a lot of good for this country and this planet. And people like her, we really need. But anyway, this is your Hillbilly Historian coming to you from the hills of East Tennessee, bringing you truth, honesty, justice, and the American way, common sense and reality, history that you will not find in your high school or college textbooks. And you have a good day.